Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for that introduction. You actually mentioned that I was a normal bloke. Well, you'll be pleased to hear I still am a normal bloke. Some people may know me from TV here. I used to do a very popular programme called Ground Force with a lady called Charlie Dimmock and Alan Titchmarsh, who's a very well-known gardener. And it was just by chance, but I'll come on to that in a minute. But first of all, my background has always been in the building industry. My father used to manufacture building blocks, what we used to call breeze blocks. So in a way, we were the early form of recyclers, if you like, going right the way back to when my father started in the 50s. We used to take, mostly this country used to run on coal. And when you burn coal, you have spent coal, you have ashes left. And we used to mix that with cement and water and vibrate into building blocks. Well, my dad took me to work with him from the age of 4. And that was because I was born to Irish immigrant parents and one of 6 kids. So I think it was really just to get me out from under my mum's feet. So I was the oldest boy. But that initial introduction to the building game served me well for life. And I've been in it ever since. And I just want to try and say to you that in the old days, it was considered a very dangerous and dirty industry, the building construction industry. But now with the improvements in health and safety, tools and quality materials, it's now an entirely different industry to when I first started. And it's changed very much for the better, not for the worse. So I was just, I went on work when I left school. I went to a very good school, grammar school for boys, but I always wanted to go to work with my dad because he was, not only was he my mentor, he was my best friend as well. So when the opportunity came, and of course I didn't get the qualifications that was anticipated for me at school because I was a naughty boy, if you like. I went to an all-boys school, luckily for me, because if there'd have been girls there, I don't think I'd have got any qualifications at all. But I was asked to resign, or they were going to throw me out. So I did the honourable thing and I resigned, and then I went to work with my dad. And we used to supply the trade with building materials. We'd switch from building blocks to gardening materials because there was an invention of a new type of block that really made my dad's business redundant. So he had to change and adapt. So we started making garden products like paving slabs, brick walling, all that sort of stuff. And then there was a slight tail off in that, and then we supplied and fixed to the public. And that's how really I learnt my skills. My dad taught me everything I knew, but I always felt slightly frustrated at the fact that I never had the paperwork to give me the confidence about what I could do. I never had the paper qualifications. So I think that on reflection, what I should have done probably was go to college and get the paperwork alongside working. But all things taken into consideration, I didn't do too bad in the end anyway. But anyway, it was from that sort of work, working with my dad, that I picked up all the knowledge that I needed. And then my dad encouraged me to go out and work for myself. You know, I wanted to do things my way. He said, yeah, go on. He let me go free. He said, you need to learn. So I went out and started a business. And from there, I grew the business doing not just hard landscaping, but also doing general contracting. And then I developed into specialising in period properties, restoring them. And it was while I was doing one of these big properties in Hampstead that the TV opportunity came along. I was working for a producer, a female executive producer, because most of the production side in TV, it's about 65%, 70% women. People think it's a very male-dominated world. It's not behind the scenes where all the production goes on. It's generally mostly women. Anyway, while I was there, she asked me to have a look at this pilot film that they've made, and it was called Over the Garden Wall. It was among other films that she had me look at. She just wanted my opinion. And it was 2 back gardens side by side doing a one-day makeover with Alan Titchmarsh sitting in an umpire's chair, straddling the 2 gardens, making commentary. Well, she asked me what I thought. I said, well, I can't say what I said to her. It was absolute rubbish. I said, it's worse than watching paint dry. So she said to me, and she was really disappointed because they spent a lot of money on this pilot film. So she said, what would you do differently? I said, well, if it were me, I wouldn't do 2 back gardens. I'd just do the one back garden and get one of the people away, and when they come back after the garden's done, surprise, surprise. So she thought about this, and then Peter Bazalgette, who owned the company called Endemol and Basil Productions, when he was asked about the idea for Ground Force, he said it came to him while he was on the tube. But if that was the case, why was it so different to the actual pilot that they made and spent all the money? But maybe that was the reason they said to me, would you be part of the film, part of the show? Now bear in mind, I'd never seen a TV camera before, let alone performed in front of one. So I said no. And I was asked 3 times, and each time I said no. I was very happy doing what I was doing. I loved being a builder. I was really earning good money. And so I went home one night and I said to my wife and the kids, Carol Haslam, who was the producer, Carol has asked me to go on the telly. And my kids have all gone, Dad, you've got to go on the telly, please, Dad. So I said, no, I don't want to be going on the telly. So I went to work, came home in the evening, and my eldest daughter at the time was Charlotte. She was 8 years old. And we was having a cup of tea in the kitchen, me and the wife and the kids, and she said, Dad, she said, you've got to go on the telly. So I was sitting back drinking my tea, leaning against the cooker, and I said, well, why is that, darling? She said, because I've had a bet with a boy in school who doesn't believe me. So I said, really? Now, we're not gamblers in our family, so I don't know where that came from. So I said, well, how much you had a bet for? Now, bearing in mind, this was, 17 years ago, all right? She said, £10. Well, I spat my tea out. I said, a tenner. I said, well, how are you going to pay that? And she folded her arms and she said, Daddy, she said, I don't intend to lose. And that really made us laugh. So I went to work the next day and I told the producer the story. And I said, because of that, I'll have a crack at it. And she said, well, it's not quite that easy. You've got to have a screen test. So that's where I met Charlie Dimmock. For those of you who know, it doesn't need any explanation. But for those youngsters out there who may not know who Charlie is, Charlie was a flame-haired, very Amazonian, strong, good-looking woman who used to work without a certain item, a certain garment of underwear, right? And when it got cold and wet, a t-shirt used to stick to her. So that's to describe Charlie. She was also a very talented gardener. So the 3 of us formed this group and we started making over people's gardens. And it became an instant hit. And we had viewing figures of 13.5 million people watching our show, a little 26-minute gardening show, up against Coronation Street. In fact, it became so big that it travelled the world. The show was shown all around the world, the English version, and we got to travel the world doing shows. We went to America. It was bigger in America than it was in the UK. We had 38 million viewers in America. And that was just the tip of the iceberg. But we got to travel the world. We even did Nelson Mandela's garden for him as a special, the very first one back in the year 2000. And I've been doing this TV malarkey for 17 years now. I haven't made any new series for the last 18 months because they say there's no television, but it might be time to hang me TV boots up, I don't know, but we'll wait and see. But I've made nearly 1,000 programs in total. I've written 6 books. I've travelled the world. I've met 5 presidents and prime ministers, if you like. I've met all the royal family except for the Queen, which, when you think about it, is not really bad for a little old Cockney builder from the East End of London in Hackney, which is where I still live. So what I'm trying to say, from a very humble beginning, if you like, just being a landscape gardener with certain limited abilities, because I never went to college, but with a craving to learn more and an ability to be able to see something once and then apply myself to it. And also, I always went to work with a fervour, with a lot of energy and positivity, because I love doing what I do every day. Because people say, you know, you've had a very interesting and fantastic career. Well, I don't look at it as a career. I think that's far too soon. I'm just an opportunist. Something comes along, I'll have a go at it. And that's what I want you to do, what I want you to realise. It's a very important time for you now to make a decision about your future. But we all make mistakes. And if you go into something and try it and you don't like it and you fall on your bum, it doesn't matter. You've got to get up, dust yourself down and have another crack at something else. Because the one thing you shouldn't do, and the one thing I never wanted to do, was get to the end of my life and have lots of if onlys. If only I'd done that, if only I'd done that. What I'm trying to say is, if you get an opportunity, grab it by the horns and run with it. If it doesn't work out, there's no shame. There's only one bad mistake you can ever make, just one. And that's one that you don't learn from. Every other mistake you make, as long as you learn from it, there's something positive that comes out of it. You know, and I want to advocate my industry, the construction industry, because I think if you have the right temperament and you enjoy life and you want to go to work, enjoy yourself, learn something new and something different every day, then as long as you open your mind to it, the construction industry is a great opportunity. It's fantastic money now. I mean, it's become fashionable where they say plumbers can earn 100,000 a year. Well, you can, but you have to be very good and you have to work 24/7 to do it. But you can earn a real good salary, a good income, and it gives you an opportunity to become self-employed. So you are in charge of your own destiny. But the only thing you have to do, the most important thing, whichever route you take, you have to be the best you can within your field. And if you're always looking to make yourself better and accrue more knowledge, you can always get a lot more money. You'll get top salary. It'll make 100,000 a year look like, I don't know, shopping money. There is real big opportunities out there for you, providing you're prepared to apply yourself. And there's some very valid things. You have to show a keen interest. You have to show that you're able to work hard, turn up on time, be punctual, and don't have any absences. A great way for curing absence is if you become self-employed and you're in the building industry, it's funny how you never really become sick, because if you get sick, you don't get paid. So you make sure that you keep yourself healthy, you get out of bed and you go to work. And it's strange because also in the TV industry, it's a good discipline from the building industry to go to the TV industry, because you'll find that you're never ill when you're making a series, because the adrenaline rush is going through you. Once you finish the series and all the filming's over, then you get really sick and you're probably ill for a fortnight. But it's funny how the body reacts. It protects because it knows you can't miss. You can't be missing from one program of a series. And if they reschedule it, it's very expensive to do. So you have to just make sure that you can keep healthy and go through it. But the body's a very strange thing and it reacts to them pressures. Now, I don't know, the format we've got here today is I was asked to do a Q&A. So if there are any questions that you want to ask me, and I'll be only too happy to answer, just put your hand up and somebody will run around with the microphone, wherever my compere is, there he is, and you can ask the question and I'll answer it as honestly and accurately as I can. So, who wants to know the first? Go on, don't be shy, put your arm up for the first question. No? Okay, well, I'll just ask myself a question and answer it for you, Dave, if you're that embarrassed to do it. Now, most people ask me, how did I get started in the TV industry? They're really keen, especially youngsters, which is a bit of a strange question, really, because they obviously don't think it was my good looks and wit, obviously, you know. So I often say to people, well, I wonder if when George Clooney does an interview, whether they ask him how he got started, because we're sort of similar, aren't we? Well, my wife says I've got a very wild imagination. We're of a similar age. You know, we've got a little bit of grey in our hair. And he pretends to be a doctor originally, and I pretend to be a builder, and we've both got away with that. No, he's got a lot more money than I have, that's for sure. But it just goes to show you that here I am as a builder, just a little small job in builder, and the next thing, just by one opportunity that came along that I took and accepted and grabbed and went with it, all down to my daughter having a bet, because I wasn't going to do it, changed the course of my life. As you go through life, you're going to come to sort of Y junctions. There's a straight road, there's a Y junction off. Should I take it, or should I continue going straight? Or there might be reasons why you turn right and come off the road. But as long as you're positive about it, and if it is the wrong turning, you can reverse up and go back on that road. don't be frightened to take a chance. And this is a great place for you to find out or have an inkling about what might be good for you, what you might select. Try everything. Ask questions. Make sure you're fully acquainted with the negative side as well as the positive side. And you never know where that could lead you. Look what it did for me. Took me, and I've had a great life. I love building. I still build today. I have my own projects that I do, and I fit that in around the media work that I do. I'm writing a new book. I've just been asked yesterday if I would host a new channel that's coming on, which is potentially we're negotiating a new property channel, which will be the first of its kind, and it will cover the whole spectrum of property. So there's still a bit of life in the old dog yet, so I'm not really ready to go into retirement. I've got about another 10, 15 years to go. And of course, I've got 3 kids all need to go through university or college, whatever they choose to do. And I've got to pay for that. So I have to keep going. Especially now, it's, what is it, £9,000 a time. Anyway, anyone got any questions they'd like to ask me? Surely you want to know something about TV? No? Okay. Oh, there is a question over there, a young man with a question over there. You'll have to be quick. You'll have to be quick. Can we have the microphone on back there? Could you stand up and then just ask me the question, and I'll see if I can answer it. Right, that's a good question. I was asked whether I dealt with apprentices myself and have I had much experience with apprentices. I've had apprentices work for me when I was contracting many years ago, but I haven't done any contract work really since the beginning of the media stuff, so about 17 years since I've done any contract work. But I always used to enjoy having youngsters and bring them on and teach them skills. The only problem I used to get as an employer was it used to be a bit frustrating for me when I used to teach them and train them and give them the skills, and then they'd go off and work for somebody else, or they'd go off and set up in business themselves. And that used to irritate me, but as you get older, you realise, well, that's what it's all about. That's exactly what you did, and that's what everyone should do. My father encouraged me not just to stay working with him, but to go out and experience other people. You know, take a chance, because working with him was fairly safe for me, you know. And that's why although he loved having me work with him, and he loved me, I presume he loved me as a son, he still wanted me to go out and get experience elsewhere rather than just be kept in that little hub. But I go around the country, going to colleges and visiting shows where there are always apprentices involved, and through the CTB, the construction industry skills training, and I try and give speeches to kids to try and encourage them, because the one thing that I have is, because of what I've been and what I've done, people relate TV appearances to success. The reality is a bit different, but at least the kids will give me the time, they'll listen. And basically the message is simple. Have a crack at it. You're only young once, and if it doesn't work out, fine, do something else. Don't worry don't stress. But it would help you a bit if you could narrow down the percentages of picking the wrong choice by trying everything you can at a place like this. You know, learn all the information. There's information, and very importantly, what you need. If you're ever going to think about a job or a career in the building industry, you'll need to know basic mathematics, numeracy, because if you can't measure, then you can't come into the building industry, and you'll need to have a basic grasp of the English language, so you can either receive instructions and also give them. You know, those are 2 educational tools that you can't do without in this industry. And of course, you need to be able to communicate. You know, it's about communication and having a bit of fun and doing your work well. If I've got a choice as an employer picking people, just think about it. Who am I going to pick? I'm going to pick someone who's good at their work, someone who's going to be punctual, someone who's going to be fun, who's going to enjoy it. Because you don't want to be working with a miserable sod, that's for sure. So you're always going to pick someone who's up for a bit of crack. Now the building industry is quite unique in that. In the old days it used to be, as an apprentice, one of the jobs you'd do was go down to the local hardware store and buy some rubber nails or a left-handed hammer, you know, or some sky hooks. And of course, in all seriousness, apprentices used to go down there and ask for that sort of stuff. And then in the store, they would know that you've been sent on a fool's errand, so they would sometimes play around a bit more, or else if they're busy, they'd send you back. But that's part of the learning curve, because as soon as you qualify, there's someone else coming in the following year that you get the opportunity to do that too. And it just creates a bit of humour, and it's a good thing. It teaches you that not only are you gonna, are you required to give it, you also are required to take it. And it's just been a great life. I mean, I've had a great time. I love the industry completely. And I think I'm an example of where if you have a diversion and something comes, you take the opportunity. You never know, you could end up on TV as well. All right? Anyone got any more questions? We have a question here. That's a very good question. What do I consider to be my greatest achievement? Well, luckily my wife's not here, because I'd have to say meeting my wife and having my children. But apart from that, I would say probably meeting Nelson Mandela would be the highest achievement in my professional life. But to be quite honest, just getting up every day and enjoying going to work and having that period of time with my dad, who I lost 13 and a half years ago now, but we had a great rapport. And he was alive to see some of the success I achieved, which was really pleasing. And I suppose my first book, when I got published, which is a big achievement for me, the first time, and I got notification from the British library system that my first book was now part of the library system of this country and around the world, and it would be there forever. I suppose that to me is an achievement I hold very high. Not money or necessarily material things, they're nice, they come along with success to a degree. But you have to, when you make your selection, your choice, it can't just be for financial reasons, because that's a very hollow achievement. You can get lots of money and not be happy. So I say to my kids, my 3 kids, I say, I don't care what you do, I really don't mind. But as long as whatever you choose to do, you enjoy it, because you're going to be doing it for a heck of a long time. And that's it. That's my message to you today. Anybody else got a question they want to ask me? No? Well, I think that's me finished, actually. If you don't want to ask anybody, well, I hope really that you take some inspiration from that. And remember, you never know what's round the corner. Thank you very much.